So I know a lot of my videos have been about my truck here, this 2003 Dodge Ram. Today I was going to talk about something a little bit different. So today's video is going to be about my fifth wheel, and specifically I'm going to be adding some stabilizers to it because when it's pretty windy outside or if somebody's just walking around in it, you know, sometimes it can get kind of shaky. If you ever owned a fifth wheel, or if you're thinking about buying one for the first time, you might consider go ahead and thinking about getting some stabilizer bars on there if it doesn't come with some on it. Search around on the internet trying to find the best thing to stabilize my RV. I decided to go ahead and purchase the JT Strong Arm system. Now I've already got this out of the box and I've kind of pre-assembled everything just to make sure everything was there that I would need, and it looks like it's come with a whole bunch of parts. It's got a bunch of bolts and nuts and washers and probably everything I need to go ahead and complete this install. It looks like it should be pretty straightforward. All I should need is a drill, some drill bits, and a wrench, and possibly a ratchet set. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and try to start getting this installed on my fifth wheel. Okay, so I say for most people, installing this JT Strong Arm kit on your fifth wheel or on your camper, whatever you've got, should be a straight, simple process of just drilling a few holes and bolting things together. I had to do a few extra steps to mine, and I just wanted to show you guys what I had to do in case you have to do the same thing to your RV. I hope you don't have to, but if you do, hopefully this video will help you out. Alright, so to me, this is the easiest way to tighten up these brackets onto the JT Strong Arm kit, is just go ahead and put your wrench on it, go ahead and lean it on something that's going to be sturdy, and then just twist these arms. You might have to hold this bracket down when you do it. Just twist these arms and make sure that you don't spin that wrench off the nut, but just spin this bolt on up into there. Just as easy as that. I just spun this bar by my hand and had the wrench on there. You have to make sure that you use the open end of the wrench, or else you won't be able to get the box end off the bolt because of the length of the bolt that's on there. The other thing you could do is trim that bolt down before you start this, but you got to be real careful so you don't make it too short. You want to make sure that that nut can get a full contact, that the bolt can go all the way through the nut when you tighten this down. Alright, so I got these JT Strong Arms on the RV here, but got one problem with this one. It's hitting the battery box, so I'm gonna have to take that battery box out and cut the opening bigger so I can move the box backwards and clear that arm when I raise up the landing gear. So what I had to do inside here, I already got the battery disconnected, and I got the battery box undrilled. There was screws around the edge of this battery box. I take those screws out, and then now I'm gonna pull this battery box out. And you can see they've got this closer to the front edge here than what they do on the back edge. So I'm going to push that battery box back as far as I can, and hopefully that'll give me enough room to clear that strong arm when I raise the landing gear. Okay, so I've got the JT Strong Arm up here where it's going to be in place, and it looks like if I can go 2 inches, I should barely clear. I might need 2 1/4, but put the tape measure up here. Looks like I can go 2 1/4 to maybe 2 1/2 inches backwards, so hopefully that'll give me plenty of room. That's where that strong arm will clear the battery box when I get the battery box moved back. I'm going to use my plasma cutter to cut this hole out a little bit bigger, and what I'm going to do first though is mark it. I've got my speed square out here. I'm going to use that, line it up with the edge, and mark this all the way back. And then I can just use the back edge of this to guide my plasma cutter down the straight line right there. Alright, now I'm going to sand these edges a little bit, and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of paint and put the battery box back in. Alright, so I got one more arm to install on the front here, and the problem is this bracket needs to go right here, right next to this other bracket for the gas line here, or propane line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld on a plate right here. I'm going to weld this plate on, that way I can drill some holes in this plate and go ahead and mount that other JT strong arm bracket to this. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sander and I'm going to sand from here to here. And just go ahead and make sure there's no paint on this edge here, so that when I start welding that bracket in place, that it's not going to have any issues with paint burning off or not wanting to weld because paint is in the way. Just one thing to note here is I do have the battery disconnected. As with any vehicle, you want to disconnect the battery when you're welding on it. That way you don't send any shocks back to the battery, which could potentially cause it to explode. So I've got my plate clamped in place here. I've got my ground clamp on it, and I'm going to go ahead and get started trying to weld this plate onto the frame here. That way I can finish this installation. I let the paint dry overnight on this bracket, so I should be ready to go ahead and bolt this together and complete the installation of my JT Strong Arm kit. Alright, now the installation is done on this JT Strong Arm kit. I'll go ahead and give a little recap of what I had to do to install it on my Wildcat by Forest River. I had to weld a bracket here so that I wouldn't interfere with that propane line, and then go ahead and bolt that assembly to the plate that I welded on. These bolts down here on the bottom, they say that you have to drill them out to 1/2 inch, but mine were already at 1/2 inch, so I did not have to drill them. I just had to put the bolts in there. It worked pretty well. We've got a little brass piece that you put on each side of this post right here, just to help keep the spacing right for this bracket. And then just bolt these together, bolt it together there. So for my center section, they've got a flat plate, and then they got these special bolts that they use here for their strong arms. So I just used 2 of those here at the top. I just had to drill 2 3/8 inch holes through this plate here. That's for the pan where the battery box is located. And then put a plate on both sides, and then just simply tighten up the bolts. I did have to move the battery box back about 2.5 inches. That way I could clear this strong arm here when I raise the landing gear. And that seems to be working pretty good now. And I'm not sure whether or not I want to weld that plate on to cover this hole up or not. I might do that just to keep water and mud and stuff from getting in here into this compartment. So same thing here, just bolt the brackets together. Over here I cut this plastic out so that it would fit around this bracket, and then I drilled 2 3/8 inch holes, one here and one here, and then just bolt a nut hold it together. The backside was a little bit different. They suggest that you hook it onto your stabilizer. So I've got it on the stabilizer here. Now on the stabilizer, I did have to buy this extra bracket kit, and it came with all the brackets that you needed. This long bolt was in the kit with the JT strong arms. So you put this kit on here, you have to drill this bracket out, these plates right here, out to 1/2 inch so that these can go all the way through. But these holes are the right size, and then you just simply bolt this together. Then on this end, I drilled a 5/16 inch hole up through the frame, and then they have these self-tapping screws here. So I just ran those in with my little impact gun, and it went pretty well. Did the same thing on this side of the stabilizer. Just got that bracket, drilled out the top hole to 1/2 inch. That way that existing bolt can go all the way through there. This bolt came with the bracket. Put that bracket on there, bolt everything together. And on this end of the JT strong arm, I drilled 5/16 inch holes in the frame, and then used the self-tapping bolts. Ran those in with my impact gun. They did pretty well. And so far, pretty pleased with the installation. Even when I did not have the complete kit installed there, I noticed that it did reduce the swaying in my trailer quite a bit. So I'm pretty happy with the purchase of this kit. I just had to do a few little extra things to get it going, and I want to show you guys what I had to do. So if you do have a camper that's set up similar to mine, I hope this video helps you out and showing you what I did to install my strong arms on there. But I think it's going to be a pretty good system and work out pretty well for me now that it's all installed. I'm Jay Ray. I'd like to thank you for watching my video. Once again, I ask if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss out on future content being released on my channel.